Welcome back to Anything is Possible. I am Tamara and I live at Lake Chapala in Mexico. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about what it's like once you actually get relocated here, especially for myself, moving here alone with just two animals. It was quite a journey. I will link below to the video that I did that was about my travels down here and wrapping things up and getting moved. But once you're here, it's almost a little bit probably like postpartum depression. I mean, there's all this excitement, planning, homing in on your goal of getting here, finding a place to live, of course getting packed if you're getting rid of belongings, saying goodbye to friends, saying goodbye to your home, and saying goodbye to your country and crossing the border and relocating here. And when I got here, I found a place to live and I got moved in, and that took quite a lot of energy and focus to get all of that in place. And then it was sort of like, now what? Some people move here and they move into a center of town where there's all kinds of expat activities going on, and they just jump right in with both feet and get involved with the community. I moved to an area that is outside of the center of town, and it takes some doing to get into town. I love where I live right now because there's so many conveniences. There's stores, hardware stores, grocery stores, pet supply stores, local shelter. There's tons of churches you can choose from. But at the same time, day-to-day life here is very quiet. There isn't a lot of concerts going on and activities. There are restaurants to eat at, but again, it's just a matter of walking to them, eating your meal, and coming home. So I generally just eat at home unless I'm gathering with friends. I don't feel like there is, a lot of point in just going to a restaurant and eating out. I cook very good food on my own, and it agrees with my tummy. So once I got settled in, I was sort of like, okay, now what? Especially since I got down here and I started back to work again because on my remote job, and suddenly they told me to stop work immediately, that they needed to figure it out how to pay me, even though I had told them months in advance of this happening, and they never said anything about it not being possible. And they knew I was packing and leaving and moving down here. And then when I started work, they finally decided that no, that they were not going to pay me working remotely in Mexico. I think they were somehow afraid of the possibility of tax implications for them, and I don't know, they just didn't really want to be bothered. I am 69. And I think that was what they call, what is it, a quiet retirement or whatever. They just basically, said you can't work here anymore. So I was kind of, that was fine. I'm ready to retire, and certainly living in Mexico, I don't need the income anymore. But it was just unexpected. And I thought my retirement would be my decision, and it really wasn't. So many things in life, you don't get to choose what happens all the time. So I wasn't in really a routine, so I did start getting involved in some things. I found an aqua aerobics class really near me, and I go over to the shelter that's a block from me and go and play with the kittens and socializing the cats, and I go for a walk every morning with my dog Wookie, and but other than that, there wasn't a lot of structure to my life anymore, and I think a lot of people find that when they retire. that there's kind of all of a sudden this big vacancy, and especially moving to a new place. I mean, even if you are already retired and you're looking forward to it, you move here and you don't know anybody, you have no routine, no close friends, no connections, and even I found that the hobbies that I used to have don't really fit down here anymore. I mean, I love doing woodworking, and of course when I had my house and my big property, I was always out working on the vegetable garden and taking care of the chickens, and you know, working on some part of the property where blackberries taking over, and of course renovating the house, which had been a rental. I had spent years, every spare moment when I wasn't working, I was working on renovating the house. So all those things are not part of my life anymore. I do have a little garden here, and I enjoy going shopping when I am feeling a little low. I just go to the gardens, one of the garden centers, and pick up some plants and get a couple of pots and plant some plants. And somehow going to a nursery just always is a pickup for me. The greenery and the I guess the plants oxygenating the air, and just looking at the beautiful, beautiful things that are available here. But whenever I have moved, and I have moved quite a lot of times, I have to say that it has always taken me about 2 years to really get established in a new community, to get involved in activities that mean something to me, find friends that are on the same wavelength and are like-minded, and I enjoy spending time with. Of course, there's groups here, and I belong to a women's group that gets together every 2 weeks for luncheons, and I meet all kinds of new people there, and that's wonderful. I don't make friends really easily. I am an introvert, and I also value my alone time a lot, and so if I spend time with people, then it is very selective, and I make sure that the person that I am with is somebody that I really want to spend time with. So I'm not one of these people that goes out. I mean, I don't drink, so I'm not one to go out partying and drinking and spending a lot of time carousing. I lead a very quiet life. Part of my thing too is that yes, I did rent a house here, and it's a lovely house, but like I say, it's kind of out of the thick of things, and I don't really want to be in a big city. I am exploring the possibility of Guadalajara, also possibly Jocotepec and Chapala. I'm not that fond of Ajijic. It's just very congested at this point, and getting more so every single day. I wanted to read a little quote from a book that I'm reading called High Tide in Tucson by Barbara Kingsolver. And Barbara Kingsolver is a really wonderful author, but she has traveled a lot and lived in many different places throughout her life. In her childhood, she lived in Africa, and then she used to spend months in Spain. And so she talks about, this starting a new life. Every one of us is called upon, probably many times, to start a new life. A frightening diagnosis, a marriage, a move, a loss of a job or a limb, or a loved one, or a graduation, or bringing a new baby home. It's possible to think at first how this all will be possible. Eventually, what moves it all forward is the subterranean ebb and flow of being alive among the living. In my own worst seasons, I've come back from the colorless world of despair by forcing myself to look hard for a long time at a single glorious thing, a flame of a red geranium outside my bedroom window, and then another, my daughter in a yellow dress, and another, the perfect outline of a full dark sphere behind the crescent moon, until I learned to be in love with my life again. Life, like a stroke victim retaining new parts of the brain to grasp lost skills, I have taught myself joy over and over again. And I think that's kind of the crux of it. To me, it was giving up a lot of the familiar and the routines that I had that made my life have some sort of pattern. And you lose that when you move. There is no pattern. You're starting fresh with new people and new things, new environment, and everything. And to me, it's not just finding some familiar thing that happens during a day. It's exploring and finding new things. And for me, it always comes back to nature. I'll take a walk. I walk down by the lake and I look at the birds, and it's like, oh my gosh, there's all new birds here. There are some familiar ones. Of course, we have some crows, and we have grackles, and little sparrows, and we have swallows. But beyond that, there are birds that migrate from all parts of the north down to South America. So during migration season, we have all kinds of different birds coming through. And I use a wonderful bird app called Merlin from the Cornell Ornithology Lab, and it really is good. Homes right in on where you saw a bird. It uses GPS to locate you, and then narrows down what the possibilities are and gives you pictures that you can say, yep, that's my bird. And what's cool about it too is that it then feeds back to the Cornell database, so they can record where bird sightings have happened all over the world. And it really helps with them tracking different populations of birds and understanding not the migration patterns, as well as what birds are residing in what parts of the world. I also use an app called PlantNet when I'm out on my walks and I find a plant. So many things here I am so unfamiliar with. They have all different bloom seasons, and so I use that app, and you can actually take a picture of it, and again, it sends it to the database where other people can see what was seen in that area, and adds your pictures to the database of what that plant looks like. But it is really good on narrowing down what a plant is, and I'm just having more fun doing that. But you have to find things that, really just make your heart sing here. And to me, it's always nature. To me, gives me a new bearings of my new home. I just wanted to say that you shouldn't give up. I mean, if you get these feelings of homesickness and going, oh gosh, maybe I should just go back. A lot of times there really isn't putting any genie back in the bottle again. In my case, my dad died. I do have friends back home, but I look at the weather and I have to say I'm so grateful I'm here. I mean, I'm so glad to be able to lie out in the sun and enjoy taking a nap on my lounge out in the looking up at the palms and the blue sky. And you get these feelings of homesickness, especially during the holidays, I think. Look and see what it is that is better about your life now. Would you really want to go back? Think how you were in January, where you lived I mean, were you happy, or were you hunkered down at home trying to stay warm and worried about supplies if you got snowed in, and it seemed like winter would never end? And here it's like we've turned the corner, and I think, at this point, yes, January and February are colder here, but they're just not going to be that cold. The second part of this is I wanted to talk a little bit about New Year's. It seems to be the time of year when we kind of look at the past year and what we accomplished and goals for our new year. And boy, I look back at this past year and I honestly, it just wears me out. I don't know how I did it. I have to pat myself on the back for this past year. It has been quite a feat of accomplishment to, from January through my move in June, it was just the most amazing concentrated effort of consolidating everything that I own down to the essence of what I thought I needed for my new life, getting rid of so many things, getting the mover arranged, getting the house sold, cleaned up, everything looking beautiful, packing, driving down with my animals, finding a place to live, and now getting established, finding new things to make my life rewarding. So next year I've decided to take it a little bit easy on myself. I signed a 1-year lease here, and I think I probably am going to want to move someplace that's got a little bit more activities going on, a little more community. This year I am going to make a very focused effort on learning Spanish much more proficiently so I can converse, hopefully by the end of the year. And I find that not being able to speak Spanish means that I am very limited to the locations that I can move. There's a lot of parts of Mexico that are very beautiful, but you really are required to speak Spanish, and I don't want to be limited to expat communities. I want to be able to mingle with other people and be able to converse with them. I don't have a lot of really concrete plans for this year. I will be focusing on deciding whether I'm going to move, and of course that will involve packing up and relocating. But I find that works out best for me. If I have real solid goals in mind, I mean, obviously moving to Mexico was a solid goal, but I often find that if I put things in place and then leave a lot of latitude for just things to happen, that works out best. I think one last thing is always to make sure that you have gratitude. I mean, gratitude for me is the key to all happiness. Whenever you start feeling like your life is bad and things are not going right, You need to flip that coin and look at all the things that you do have and all the things that are going right. Even when I lived in Oregon and the days were dark and things were cold and I was miserable and I couldn't do all the things that I wanted to do because the weather and the day length just didn't permit it. And you have to flip it around. I was so happy to have a warm home and cozy fireplace to sit by, and it's a time to kind of regroup and find joy in whatever you do have in life, the things that you have around you, the people that you love, the community that you've built. I think it's good for you to take a good hard look at what you've got, and maybe it's exactly what you need, and maybe it's exactly where you should be. It doesn't take upsetting your life necessarily to be happy. I'm grateful for you, and I hope you all have a really wonderful, safe, happy New Year. I'm going to be staying home because there will undoubtedly be very loud parties here, and I want to be here with my animals. But on Friday night, there is a live band nearby, and I'm probably going to go celebrate my New Year a couple of days early, have some pizza and listen to some music, and I can just walk there and walk home, so it's very safe. But I hope you have a great New Year. Thank you for watching. Please do like, comment, subscribe, share this with your friends. Share it with anybody that's thinking about Mexico or anybody that's just, trying to decide what's right for them. I appreciate you all. Bye-bye. I hope that in this year to come you make mistakes, because if you are making mistakes, then you are making new things, trying new things, learning, living, pushing yourself, changing your world, doing things you've never done before, and more importantly, you're doing something. So that's my wish for you and all of us, and my wish for myself. Make new mistakes. Make glorious, amazing mistakes. Make mistakes nobody's ever made before. Don't freeze. Don't stop. Don't worry that it isn't good enough or it isn't perfect. Whatever it is, art or love or work or family or life, whatever it is you're scared of doing, do it. Make your mistakes next year and forever.